Due to the global pandemic that is going on, everybody is buying webcams, and you as a creator or a streamer, you have noticed, I'm sure, the prices going up, the stock going down, and so it's caused a lot of people to look into alternatives to some of the more mainstream webcams like the Logitech C920. So in today's video, we're gonna take a look at the Aukey 1080p webcam to see if this is an actual contender and solid alternative to the Logitech C920. Let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? My name is Brandon Hassler, and I create tech videos for other creators and streamers. So if that sounds like you, do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into today's episode. So just so you know, right now I am looking at the Canon SL2 DSLR camera, and this is my main DSLR that I use for all of my live streaming, and I run it through the Camlink 4K and then I run that through Streamlabs, and that's what I'm recording on today is Streamlabs. And I'm using Streamlabs today, which I normally don't record my YouTube videos like into the computer. I'm doing that today because we're talking about webcams and I've got multiple cameras hooked up. It just makes it much easier to kind of go back and forth. So with that said, let's take a look at the C920 webcam. So this is the Logitech C920 that everybody knows and loves. It's a great camera, 720p, 1080p, both at 30 frames per second. And it's currently retailing for $79.99. Not bad. You can't really buy it anywhere but Logitech's website. If you try to go on Amazon, you're looking at minimum $110 and you're buying it through someone else. So the shortage of webcams is very real. And again, that's probably why you're watching this video, because you're trying to see if there's any cheaper alternatives. And like I said, it's a solid camera. It's got 3 megapixels. The Aukey camera that we're going to talk about has 2 megapixels. And here's the interesting part. The Logitech C920 advertises itself as a 78-degree viewing angle. The Aukey 1080p camera that we're talking about, and the model that I'm talking about specifically, is the, where was it here? The LM1E model. So most of the Aukey cameras you're gonna look at, it's gonna be the LM1E. I'll link to all these cameras below just so you can be sure. But they're advertising theirs as a 65-degree viewing angle, which is a smaller viewing angle. Well, this is kind of weird. Check this out. This is way wider than the C920 camera. I mean, let's look at these side by side. Over here, here we go. The door, like, you get way more on the Aukey. And then over here, you get maybe half of the window. And then on the Aukey, you've got almost the entire window. Like, that is insane. Now, if you look here, this is the Aukey, a little bit more zoomed up. Let's start with the image quality of everything. Now, the first thing you might be noticing is there's some digital mess happening here, and this is the first time this has been happening. I haven't been using this camera very long, so that is a little bit concerning. Perhaps it will go away. I don't know. I did also notice, just like, kind of maybe if you look at the edge of my chair, if this thing is full screen, just a little bit more pixelated around some of the edges. But overall, the image quality is actually not too shabby at all, considering this is a $49.99 camera in the middle of a pandemic again, and the stock for this is almost always available. So you have to factor that in, that we're in unique times right now. Now, going back to the C920, again, I feel, even though they're both 30 frames per second, I mean, they're both pretty close in terms of the movement. Maybe the C920 does a better job at being just a little bit smoother there. But let's look at color as well. Now, I am using the C920 without the software doing any type of image enhancements. And that is one thing to note. The C920 has Logitech software that you can download, and you can manipulate the saturation, the brightness, the contrast, a lot of different stuff like that. You can digitally zoom in and out. And that's really nice to have, especially if you're in a room where you don't have a lot of control over the lighting. If you have control over the lighting, then the Aukey is a little bit more doable because the Aukey does not have software. So this picture that I'm getting right here, and again, I'm using the Elgato ring light just as a note for the light source here. That's all I have in front of me. This is what you get. There's not really much you can mess with. Now, in terms of zoom, if you're recording into, you know, OBS or Streamlabs or anything like that, you can digitally zoom in, obviously, and just like, you know, zoom in your camera and whatnot. Post-production, obviously, you can go ahead and zoom in your picture. You will lose a little bit of quality that way, so it's not necessarily recommended. But I would say that if you're going to be buying the Aukey camera, that wide angle lens is really important to you. If you don't care about having wide angle, then that's one big less reason to get the Aukey. But yeah, you can kind of see here, fairly similar picture. I would say though that the C920 is going to come out on top, even though the image is much more cropped in. Unless you really need that wide angle, you should be good there. Now let's take a look at the sound quality here for the two mics. All right, so I just switched over to the C920 mic. So this is recording straight out of the webcam, and this is what you get. Let me go ahead and read a sentence so that we have something to compare, and I'll go right over to the Aukey webcam mic, and we'll see how that is. Coronaviruses are common throughout the world and cause illness like the common cold. Coronaviruses are common throughout the world and cause illness like the common cold. All right, so this is the Aukey mic. It's not great, and you know, even comparing it to the C920 mic, not great. Let me go ahead and switch back to the Wave mic, which I'm using, so we can proceed with the video with a little bit better audio. So the C920, in my opinion, is the better mic out of the two webcams, but even still, I would say if you are like seriously considering recording your YouTube videos or doing live streams, invest in a mic. It makes such a difference. Nobody wants to listen to that audio for more than like 20 seconds. If you're doing Zoom calls or whatever, just need a webcam to get going, then fine. But again, if you're creating content, invest 40, 50 bucks into a Blue Snowball even, which is a very good entry level mic, and it's 50 times better. If you're curious, right now I am recording on the Wave 3 mic from Elgato. I think it's like 170 or 180, I can't remember. You can get the Wave 1, I believe, at like 130. So fantastic mic. It's my recommended USB mic. But again, a little bit more, not as budget friendly. If you're really just, trying to get in as cheap as you can, invest in like a Blue Snowball mic. And last thing here, I'm just looking at my notes. Let's talk about physical design. Both of these cameras look super sleek. If I had to pick a winner in terms of the look, I actually think I might like the Aukey look a little bit better, but it's very close. And in terms of build quality, they're both very, very similar. They're obviously both plastic builds. And if you're holding both of them in your hands, there's nothing obvious that tells you one camera is way cheaper than the other. So Aukey did a really good job in that department as well. They both have the ability to be screwed onto tripods or anything that you would like screw a camera on. So that's really nice if you need that flexibility. And my big beef with the Aukey 1080 camera here is the way it goes on the back of the monitor. It just has a hard time staying on there, whereas Logitech has like a little end piece that has a material on it that just sticks well to plastic. It's not a sticky material, it's just a really good grippy material. And so you can easily maneuver your Logitech really well. And for the Aukey camera, I had to basically just get a little piece of tape, kind of roll it up into a loop and just stick it on there, and then it sticks just fine. So depending on your usage of it, if you're going to be moving this thing around a lot, that could be a huge disadvantage. If it's just going to go on a tripod, then none of this matters. One big advantage, huge advantage, in my opinion, that the Aukey camera has over the C920 is the ability to rotate horizontally 360 degrees. So both of them can move up and down, but only the Aukey can actually pivot or swivel, I should say, side to side. And that's a big advantage if you have a setup where your monitor is maybe at an angle and you don't necessarily want your webcam to look straight at you. You need the camera to be angled a little bit. So that if you have that need, the Aukey camera is going to be a huge advantage for you. So that's basically the most important stuff you need to know about these two webcams. Again, the C920 coming in at $80 and the Aukey 1080p camera coming in $30 cheaper at $50, and there's a lot more supply of them. If you've got the cash for the 80, honestly, I would, even though I love the fact that you can swivel the Aukey and I love the wide angle, that's kind of cool too. Every other area Logitech comes out on top. And so if you've got that extra 30 bucks in your budget, then I would go ahead and go with the Logitech, especially if you're in an area where you don't have a lot of control over the lighting. Because if you get that Aukey camera and you're in a space where it's just not the most optimal lighting, maybe it's too bright or it's not bright enough, it would suck to just have to live with that image quality, when on Logitech you have the ability to actually increase those different levels. And again, they're both webcams. Like, we're looking at a DSLR picture here. There's a giant difference in the amount of control. I mean, I can control so much about just every little aspect of my skin color and the blur in the background, all that kind of stuff. You're not gonna have that with webcams. At the end of the day, you're buying a webcam. But if you are considering getting an alternative to the C920 and you don't want to go up and spend, think long and hard about that and really figure out what you need. And so my recommendation would still be the C920, but I am happy to say that the Aukey is not a bad alternative by any means. If that was the camera you got and you were on a budget, it's not a bad camera. I've tested out other webcams in that same price range. Garbage. I was pleasantly surprised with how good the picture quality was with the Aukey for being kind of a generic camera at that price range. So let me know what you think. Who has the better picture here? Is it the Aukey 1080p camera or is it the C920? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you are not already a member of our Discord, it is a free community. I will link to that below. Please join, come chat, say what up. We're always helping each other out and just talking about whatever and having a good time. So that's it for me today. Until next time, my name is Brandon Hassler, and this is Tech Audit TV.
Helicopter.
Oh, space is up and then control is down. It's not very intuitive.
No, that's very intuitive.
Maybe it is. I don't fly helicopters on PC.
Okay, now go to that most wanted, but I think there was a guy over there.
Ice Dog, welcome back.
No, what?